Ancestrally Speaking. Today, July the 5th, 2020. I'm so happy to be here, and we have an amazing guest. Our guest is Risikat Okedeyi of like LSP Productions, of all sorts of things. She just does everything, and she's amazing, and she's here, and I'm excited. So let's just jump her in. Please bear with us because really having us up, and so just bear with us if there's some technical issues. Okay, darlings, how you all doing? Please tell me in the comments. Hello, we can see your ring light.
Right.
Hello.
Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear
I
me?
can hear you loud and clear. I'm even going to turn it down a bit. Yo, my eardrum.
I've been struggling, my dear, so I'm trying to put it together. I have plans. You see,
hilarious.
I have plans.
I told them, I was just like, bear with us because Mercury retrograde is really fucking with us today.
It's doing too much now.
It is. And I just got
I had a whole setup. So can I show you my setup real quick? Because I'm so proud of it.
Go on. Everyone look at her
so everybody look at my setup. Because I was like, I'm going to be out here with my tea. You know, I'm going to do my thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to wear my kimono robe.
Yeah.
And I'm going to enjoy myself with my friends.
Yes, but you can still do that, no?
Of course, I'm doing it.
Yes, exactly. This is my setup. A ginger shot.
Okay. I love that lipstick. That sun is looking good on you, man.
Thank you, darling. Thank you.
I'm jealous.
I'm throwing it up at the moment. I'm doing new things.
Okay. That's what the COVID is all about.
Listen. So, people, we're here. Happy Sunday. Thank you all for joining us. And so, Kat, tell us who you are, just for people who don't know.
Okay. So I have several iterations. Today, I am coming to you as Shiva. You know, I have several members who like to show up. But I am a professor of literature. I'm also a cultural architect. It's my favorite term to use to describe myself. I care about Black people and Black culture. And so a lot of what I do is focused on that. I see my work as mediumship in terms of just making sure that we don't forget the past as we kind of bridge this future. And so, yeah, it's all Black, all Black, every day, everything.
We love it. All Black, all day, everything. So, you know, Ancestrally Speaking, we like to kind of get together with our faves, right? And just people who are interested and do some really good things out there. But also, you know, everything's from an ancestral perspective. And of course, you know, as you said, you're a medium. So you've been speaking to dead people for a long time, ancestors and otherwise, right? And so we kind of lost you there. We're looking at your ceiling now.
I know. I'm coming. I needed my hibiscus honey. It has been a day. I'm back now. I'm back.
Are you situated?
And this is not normally how I roll, but I'm like, you know what? Y'all are going to get what you get today.
Listen, this is how I always roll into these Ancestrally Speaking. I'm like, shit, it's 10:55. I haven't done my hair.
10:55.
And I'm like, I've got no makeup. And this is why the glasses are on, by the way, because I'm just like,
let me tell you something. Your skin looks amazing.
Thank you,
you
darling.
Look fantastic.
A little highlighter.
Lights out there. This is melanin that's popping in the foreground now.
I'm trying. I need to let it pop, you know.
You are doing.
Thank you. So, come on, we've got amazing and incredulous things happening in 2020, right?
Yes.
Not only has COVID come to show us the way of our foolishness and to let us be accountable. Yesterday, we were slightly, what should we say? Jolted even, or maybe not, by Kanye announcing his presidency. So, you know, I'm really interested in these kind of players we have in our society, right? And what their roles are and what exactly they're doing. Because Kanye went very religious on us not after, he's still going through his mental health issues. But, you know, it's just, what's your perspective on somebody like Kanye running for president? Would you vote for him?
So I'm going to say this. I'm going on record as saying this. We need to ignore this Bama. Like, you know, the cookouts that you have where the uncle that, you know, he don't bring shit to the cookout. He always leaves with like 2 plates, talks the most shit. And everybody has learned that if you engage him, it just exacerbates. I think that what he is doing is reckless. I think that it speaks to the time where, you know, when you have someone like Rancid Fanta as a president, anything's possible.
Yeah.
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
And you know, this country has two very clear rules on what it needs, what you need to do to run for president. You have to be over 35 and you have to be a citizen.
Right.
The bar is low.
Right.
The bar is low.
Right. I hear that. And so Kanye actually is eligible for those two things. So he could be a very viable kind of option. I mean, you know, the thing for me with Kanye, which is really kind of my perspective, is that not only does he really need some support, which I don't think he gets in its entirety. I think, yes, he's medicated, but I think there's other things that need to help him along his way to kind of recalibrate, right? And get back to the centeredness. I understand that he never ever really was that kind of calm personality. Some of these things are just his personality. But we're also in a time where things that we're doing outwardly impact a lot of us. So another example I may give you is Terry Crews.
Girl, why? Okay.
She drinks the tea. She needs to lubricate so she can speak.
Because I'm about to say this word. Okay, do you want this smoke before 12 noon? Okay, let's do it. So both Kanye and Terry Crews, for me, represent the kind of coddling that Black men receive that makes them think that they are above everything. They can make, like, no Black woman could operate in the space that that Terry Crews does and Kanye West does and be able to survive it. You know, I don't even like Candace Owens, but I would never use the C word to describe her, and that's what Dave Chappelle called her. You know, we still mad at Chrisette Michele for singing at Trump's inauguration.
Right, she ain't never recovered.
Well, we spent $70 on some raggedy socks when Kanye went spiritual. Like, the thing is, we do not give space for women to make the same mistakes.
You're right.
And you have women that are so much more qualified to have these conversations around presidency and because of their long vision, I'm actually working, it's funny. I woke up this morning and I haven't used my Medium account in a while, but Spirit was like, you need to get this out. So I have this rant that y'all are going to see later. That is a rant. It's an organized rant, but it's really like, what would happen? You all are so lucky that Black women don't keep all of their magic for themselves the way everybody else does. Because the way that we have kept this world spinning is proof of our ability to live outside of ourselves. Like, we're so concerned about the future that we will protect our abusers. We will, you know, teach people who are dumber than us, who are in charge of us. Like, it's insane the type of shit that we do. So when I see the antics that are Kanye and Terry Crews, they just remind me that as a Black woman, we too generous with our shit. We just aren't.
So I, you know, this conversation, it makes some people feel really uncomfortable, but I like the word. I mean, the word selfish has a really kind of negative connotation, but I like that word with Black women. The reason why I like that is because we have been socialized to be martyrs, and we have been socialized to put ourselves in really noxious situations, which is highly dangerous for ourselves, and keep going back there, keep trying to find peace in this toxicity, and trying to kind of explain away struggle love and struggle behavior and toxic behavior as love, as comfort, as family, as community, when really those are not the things that is happening for us. And so just spiritually, because I'm thinking about a lot of things. I'm thinking about some of the actions we're taking as a group. I'm thinking about Black Lives Matter being painted on the floor, which I've spoken about before from a spiritual context, why that has some problems to it. I'm thinking also about some of the chants that we have at marches, that we're saying things like I can't breathe and things like that. And I'm thinking about, how do we move ourselves into a place of not only safety, but where our humanity reigns supreme. So our humanity is a fact, right? It's not something we have to prove, beg, or show or demonstrate, but it's a fact. And when we start from that fact, other things follow. And I'm just thinking that we're at such a far place from seeing how close how entwined our humanity is to us, because we've had all these systems completely degrade us and all the rest of it. What's your kind of answer? What's your kind of sort of management tool in kind of keeping your humanity close to you in times of Kanye, Terry Crews, Candace Owens? How do you do this? How do you cope?
So I have to remember that this too shall pass. Like, these things are temporary. Like, the focus that we give on these things, like, if you don't, plants can't, there are certain plants that can grow in the shade, but they're not very nourishing, right? So I mean, at some point we have to stop giving so much sunlight to some of these things, right? These are weeds.
Yeah.
Weeds have seeds. They're gonna fly all over the place, you know. But if we cultivate our gardens, then we can have peace. I think the problem is that Black women in particular have been negotiating their humanity since time immemorial. You know, I don't subscribe to the term feminist because I think that for me, the word is just a reaction to terrible ass male behavior. Right. And my bigger concern is that I need you to see me as a human being. Right. Because your treatment of me should not be dependent on whether or not you love your mother, you have a daughter, and all these other things.
Say that one again.
You should. I mean, it shouldn't. Like if you have to have a sister or a daughter in order for you to treat a woman, or to decide that you're going to treat me well, then fuck that. There's no place for it. Right. For me, it's about my humanity. Right. If we're going to talk, if you're going to see me at a very basic human level, then we're not going to have a problem. Because I don't need to explain, you know, why rape is wrong using tea or jollof rice. Because you can see me as a human, you understand you wouldn't want somebody violating you. So I'm not going, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like we negotiate our humanity as Black women, and that's who I'm all the time. And it's part of our socialization, but I think it's also part of our capacity for that long vision. And I think, you know, what the line that I walk and the line that, you know, what I deal with when I deal with my ancestors and my peoples is I have to remind them, like, the world that you left is, some of this shit hasn't changed. Yeah. Like you guys left thinking that, okay, we'll leave behind some seeds and the next generation will be better. That's the hope. Yes. But we are hoping that these people who have decided that they are the ones that are in power, you know, that they're going to somehow change, and they're not. No. They're just not. No. And so that's the problem for me. Like we spend a lot of time. I'm not interested in conversations where my womanness has to be put on the table for inspection and for you to decide. Oh, or the compartmentalization where I'm a queen, but that sister over there is a hoe. Like that shit doesn't make sense to me. Right.
And to be frank, we can be queen hoes. You know,
we can be queen hoes. We can be hoe queen.
You know, right? We can do it all. And you know, all the labels that we live within, all the things that we feel that another woman should be or another man should be. It doesn't serve us. It never has. But however, we cling on to these labels so hard when someone's trying to shift. You know, when someone's trying to say to you, you know what, your humanity is a fact. And then somebody's just like, well, yeah, but we have to do this and we have to, well, no, you don't. Because we have 400 years of proving our humanity, right?
And I think that's
heavily catalogued.
And I think that's the point of COVID. This is the time of the unlearning. This is the time of, let's do shit different. Like this, the whole world is stopped. There's no reason to go back to the before. The after is an opportunity. It's a Control-Alt-Delete. So let's, you know, we had a blue screen. The hard drive is broken. Let's throw that shit out and try something new. And what you will find is that most people are going to choose the behavior from the before because that's what conditioning does. And so part of the practice that I walk is like I'm not the most obedient, you know. No. And so my constant questioning of, well, why do I have to do it that way? Why is it done that way? Is why I'm single. Yeah. It's also why I right, but the mayor of that time. Since I'm your older sister, I'm the governor.
Okay. You Cuomo, I'm De Blasio. Thanks. And no one listens to De Blasio.
No one listens to De Blasio. And Cuomo got his moments. But that's the thing. I mean, when we think about what it takes is, and I said this once to Evelyn, who's one of our faves.
Who's been on Ancestrally Speaking.
Yes, yeah. And when you think about the women that have made the most, like that have disrupted things the most, their lives have not been easy. They just haven't. And I think you have to decide. I believe in soul contracts. What did you come back to do? Yeah. I came back to question. Yeah. And my way of questioning is to move in and out of these systems and to form, to change from within. That's why I teach. You know, that's why I've been able to create my father, who I love dearly. We didn't always get along. He was a typical Yoruba Nigerian man. And I think over time, I have formed him into the man that I need as a father.
Right.
But what that requires is I have to let go of certain things, and I have to let go of expectations and literally be like, well, this is the best you got. I have to decide, is your best good enough? Will I take it?
Right.
Because maybe I will, maybe I won't.
And these are questions that I'm constantly revisiting all the time with my interactions and stuff like that. But I liked what you said about you've had to form your father into the father that you need him to be. And so that's really interesting to me. That's interesting to me that, you know, there's decisions to be made. Are we going to completely withdraw ourselves from this situation, or are we going to put the work in to create something out of someone? And I still feel that's kind of unfair. Like, why did you have to, or why do women have to, or why do people have to do all this work to get what they want?
Right. Well, because if we're going to disrupt, the initial disruptors are always, like, the best way to explain it is the generation that is born into their very first president being Barack Obama will never have a problem voting for, well, some of them won't. Most of them won't have a problem voting for someone that doesn't look like them ever again.
Right.
And for those that for whom he represents or looks like, now they can their aspirations are no longer aspirations because it's been done.
Yes.
So when you come into the world as a disruptor, I think ultimately you are taking on the responsibility of, hey, we got to make this change. And that means I believe that we as Black women, we have long vision. We understand that if we operate in this space, what's going to happen? We can either talk bad about the daddy, or we can let him do his thing, and then when the babies get old enough to see for themselves, they'll see for themselves. We can beat the lesson into them, but what's the point? You know, like with my father, I made a decision. I knew how he grew up. He had no direction when it came to parenting. Like most of our parents, you know, if you are, you know, most Black parents are so busy working, regardless, diasporically speaking, that, and even if they aren't necessarily 2, 3, 4 jobs in, the focus is on providing. That's the focus. So we, as the generational breakers, as the disruptors, we now come in and say that's cute. Yes, I was never hungry. I always had clothes. You know, I that's great. But
did I know
what I would have loved was like, hey, you know, you're not doing well. I can see that you're not well. So you know what? You're gonna stay home from school today. Or you know what? Cry. If you need to cry, cry. I will sit right here with you and you cry. And when you're done, let's talk about it. Or if I question you, it's not me saying that I don't respect you as an elder. It's me saying, I really want to understand.
Right.
So we we take those whippings and we take, you know, we do all of that. And some of us give in and say, fuck it, I'm gonna go be part of the system because this is too much work. But some of us, you know, continue on. And I think at some point, enough of us will, where this hard work won't necessarily be the work that we're doing. It'll be something else.
I love this conversation because I think that you're right, that yes, you provided for me. I wasn't hungry. I had a roof over my head. But where does the socialization of my person come into it? So where have I developed my imagination? Where have I developed my sensibilities that it's okay to cry? And sometimes I don't want to go to school. And sometimes I don't, you know, and having, you know, taking a day off Black. You know what I mean? Which is things that we have to now start teaching ourselves in adulthood that it's okay to do. But, you know, we as in have it now understanding this, need to give it to the next generation as things that should be just in their toolkit, right? That these are kind of options that they have, that, you know what, you don't have to go in every day. I mean, we're going to talk within reason because we don't want people losing incomes and things like that. But I mean, we also then need to start demanding that we have jobs that understand we need that flexibility, right?
Well, but this is the beauty. This is the beauty of COVID. Right. And this is the beauty. These younger sisters, I'm so proud of them. So proud of them. They are like tearing shit up. They are talking that talk. I'm like, what do you need? So one of the things that I'm working on now is I'm calling it the Antipa Grade. So you'll be getting an email. Later this month, I'm gonna call a meeting of as many women as I can pull together, and we're gonna create a network so that these young sisters have support. Because the thing is, my front line is now different. It's different. You know, I got a little bit of money, I got a lot of herbs, and a lot of spiritual knowledge. So I can be
which means you're really wealthy, by the way.
Right. So I can be the retreat space. You know, I can say, okay, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. You know, go stay with this auntie, come sit and have tea with this auntie. Let's strategize. Let's talk about these relationships. Because I watch these young sisters fight for the Black community as a whole, but they're in these toxic ass relationships, these personal relationships. So there's a cognitive dissonance where they're fighting for freedom for the larger community, but they're not fighting for themselves. And I'm like, no, we gotta balance this out. So if anyone is interested in the Antipa Grade, please go ahead and DM me, because I will be calling a meeting of the aunties, black and brown aunties and white aunties with money. Come on through, because the black girls and the brown girls need you. We will take your money. I will take the white guilt economy is real, and I will take all of it so that we can make sure that because these sisters are going to be the ones.
Reparations feels so much better as a word.
I call it what you want.
Yeah.
But it doesn't cut, for me, I won't call it reparations, because it doesn't cut, for a lot of these folks, it's not coming from a place of
sorrow,
of acknowledging, like, yo, this is jacked up. It's coming from a place of, oh my God, this is all of a sudden.
Yeah.
You know, the last 400 years we've been telling you you weren't listening, but all of a sudden.
Better by doing this instant thing.
Right. Yeah. And I say keep doing that. A lot of my folks are surviving off of that. It's not a shame thing, but let's call it what it is. It's white guilt. It's an economy based on white guilt. Own that shit. Take the money. But the Antipa Grade will be there and I'm doing it because after I mentioned it in play in a conversation that I'd had on my series that I do every Saturday and Sunday, but then Oluwatoyin
check out,
was killed. Yeah. And so when Oluwatoyin was killed, that something in my soul was like, yo, you got to do something. And so the idea is that we're just going to create a network, and we're going to be like, aunties are the break glass in case of emergency relatives. These are the ones that do their thing. And, you know, when the nieces and the nephews are in trouble, auntie, can I come over and stay? Like that's how I want us to operate. Like, we are the ones that come in, we do what we got to do to make sure you're good. Once you're good, we send you back out into the world, and we go do our thing. You call us when you need us again. So, and that's how. And to me, that's how we can support. That's how we can be part of it. I was a queen in my former life. I will not be going out and getting tear gas and rubber bulleted, because I will go to jail.
And have we we've seen all of this stuff about tear gas actually is important, and there's some really bad health implications for women. There was something I was reading yesterday, I can't remember where from, but a woman was tear gassed and she had her period 4 times in 1 month. So women being particularly careful when you are faced with tear gas, because it's something that is messing up your cycles and your whole endocrine system. So please be very careful about that. And they don't care. And that's the thing. Part of it is there have to be rituals pre and post these protests, because the other thing is, spiritually, you were just wide open in the space of like the anger. And so the sage is cute, but I've actually decided, I've made a decision. I'm slowly divesting myself from sage, just because I'm trying to be more respectful of Native communities. Me too. Are saying, yo, you know what? That's not for y'all. Y'all not supposed to be using it. So, you know, I've been researching other herbs that could work that are from the continent, to kind of create little smoke packets that you can use to cleanse yourself. Because the thing is, you know, this knowledge is not always being passed down. And some of it is new knowledge that we need to make part of this existence. So it's all about, all of those things are important. It's, you know, it's interesting. I like that you brought up about the younger generation, particularly younger women, needing some support, because what we've seen in the last couple of weeks is that Black media outlets have not, unfortunately, been doing their job, such as protecting their employees and creating safe and empowering spaces for them to work. And so, OK Africa is one of these places. Essence is another, and I'm sure there's many more coming up. I'm waiting for the tea on BET. I'm not even gonna lie, it's coming. Well, what can I say? I can just say that I've had a relationship with all of these companies. And to be frank, it's something that you're not actually going to be able to avoid. Mainstream to Black owned. What really upsets me is that we are just rehashing what we've learned in the mainstream, the things we were all trying to get away from in the mainstream. We're just doing it, but with a Black face doing it to you as well. Usually a Black male face doing it to you as well. And I put that in there because there is a very definite diversion in our experiences. And so, as I've been inspired by the women who have come forward and they've done such a sort of like strategic attack, for want of a better word, of things that they don't want to happen. And they certainly don't want this happening for other people, because that's what I feel the most out of it, that we want these brands to be better because we love the brands. So again, it's the care and love for the brands that's putting themselves again in another vulnerable position, that they could lose money, that they can't, they can become unemployable. Those are all real things. And I hope, I don't hope that for them. They're talented women, and I definitely think that they'll be employed, and they should be. But I mean, where do we go? Where do we go when so much of our kind of outlets, our cultural points of reference and love are toxic? What do we do?
So I think what we do, so I'm unpopular opinion. I haven't rode with Essence in a while anyway. So here's the thing. Capitalism in its current format is inherently anti-Black. So once you understand that, that has to inform how you operate as a capitalist. I believe that you can be a capitalist and not be anti-Black, but you have to go into it understanding that the system itself is inherently anti-Black. And that's part of the problem. We don't understand that in a lot of ways. We are just mimicking the ways in which you know, Europeans and invaders and imperialists have always operated, where it's all about what's going to get me the most money. At some point, you have enough money, like realistically speaking. If your children and their children and their children are never going to have to worry or never work, you have enough money. So now you have to ask the question, okay, and the thing is, in a capitalist system, in order for a Jeff Bezos to be a billionaire, there's a lot of people that get stuck.
Right.
There's a lot of oppression. It's inherent in the system. So when you as a Black owned entity are entering into that space, because I believe get your coin, but there's a way to do it equitably, where you can have the things that you need, the people that work for you can be taken care of, and it can all work. The other thing that we don't talk about is that the connection between Black men and white women, when they operate in sort of a capitalist space together, their privilege of gender and race form this little sort of Voltron, and Black women tend to be like the victims of that. They're usually on the pointy end of the stick. And so there has to be a space where, again, we are talking about my humanity, because as long as we are still having these conversations around the gendered space, then it doesn't matter. You know, we can talk all day long. These sisters have exposed so much. But what you find is that there are sisters within this space that are complicit in the mistreatment of these Black women. You know, and part of that is because these systems are inherently anti-Black. And most of us growing up in the modern world are being pumped every day with information that tells us to hate ourselves. And so every day you have to wake up and figure out what part of the anti-Black nonsense you got to slough off. And you have to be willing to be very honest. So today, later on, I'm double duty today. I'm moderating a conversation on dismantling internalized white supremacy as part of the thread with Tastemakers Africa. Girl, my questions are so fly. I'm so excited. But hopefully they're not too much. Can you put a question
in there that says, do you gel down your edges? That's a real...
I was gonna bring that up.
Because I always just like, well, I don't. I let them be free. They are free.
Well, that's the question, is that, do you gel down your edges because you think that's the only way it can be finished? Or is that part of your artistry? And that's the problem with anti-Blackness. Sometimes we think it's a preference, and really it's socialization. And so that's the danger of it. It's inherent in this system. So it doesn't matter whether it's all Black people. If you are working in a capitalist framework and you're going in to, you know, make money, do whatever, you have to be aware of that. And you have to question yourself at every edge. You know, when I read the OK Africa, some of the threads, I'm like, people left their Wall Street jobs to go be executive assistants for Abiola OK, just because they believed in the larger implication of a Black-owned brand, or what we thought was a Black-owned brand. And again, Black women, because they're thinking existentially,
or like leave.
And what they can leave behind, So they're willing to like take a step back and be an executive assistant, or as this fool said, the hand of the king. Just because you know, it's a girl. I was like, the delusion, like the amount of delusion you must carry with yourself to think that you are the king,
like that,
and to even say that to someone else. It's fascinating. So when you see their stories, most of the women, I think the shortest amount of time anyone stayed was 6 months. That's a long time, in my opinion, to be going into a situation every day where your humanity is being challenged. And so as Black women, I think, you know, it's time to turn our gifts on ourselves. And yes, that does mean that you may say, I say that I'm about Black people and Black culture. there's a reason why I don't get as much sponsorship as other people. Because I'm very clear.
Because you are about that. Right.
Because that's what I'm about. I'm not a hipster. I'm not some white. I don't need white people on my team. I don't need them in the pictures. Like, you are going to get this blackness, and all the pictures are going to have black people in them because we buy your product.
Right.
Now, if you have a problem with that, fine.
Right.
But this is the reason why, and I've made that decision. So I've set my life up a certain way where I do teach. I teach with 2 schools. So I have my income. Right. So my creative aspect I don't have to compromise on that. Right. It also means that I can work with people that can't pay me what they should be able to pay me.
Right.
That, you know, or I can work in these spaces where we are bartering because my basic needs are being met.
Right.
And so that's the kind of innovation. And you know, it's not about side hustles. Like, I'm an entire being. LSP is not a side hustle. It is part of my life. So it's what I do. So you have to be willing. You have to decide, because it's easy. I could just go do a corporate thing. I could have done corporate. I did it for 5 years. I wanted white people out with my bangles and my oils and my hair. They were like, this is too much. I was like, well,
Rissy's coming. We can hear the
I used to shame the shit out of them. Like, why are we not celebrating Black History Month? I wore those white people out. And when people were acting a fool in the office, trying to shame Black girls and their bodies and dress codes, I went to HR and said, little white Jenny, her skirt is much shorter, but because she's shaped like a stick, you don't notice.
Right.
So maybe what you need to ask is, why are these white men coming to you complaining about this Black woman's body and not about that white girl? And, you know, I was in there raising hell.
Wow. And you know,
disrupting from within.
This is it. And so while we have people who have personalities that can handle raising hell, I do wonder how we celebrate and support people who raise hell, right? Because sometimes we distance ourselves from them, but we really do need to go closer to them and help them. Because the thing is, the process of raising hell, sometimes, there's so much coming out of you. Sometimes you do get the sparks. The people standing around you do get the sparks. But sometimes we have to firm up, right? And sometimes those sparks might be a burn that you need. And when I say a burn that you need, a burn to kick you up your bum, to be like, I don't want this shit. Because that's exactly what's happening in these moments. People are saying, nah. How are people going to return to the office? They're not going to. They're going to be like, I like working at home. I have the flexibility to take care of my kids. I can breathe. I can do like 2 hours of yoga in the morning without dying and still answer all your emails. You know, like, people are coming. So people are going to start demanding that the workplace and the working structures that we have is far more empowering, far more of a kind of nurturing kind of thing to our lives. Right. And we've not had that balance. So, but let's be real, Simone. Black women have been talking about that shit for eons. The only reason this is going to change is because of a damn pandemic. Because white people are scared. This is not, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, this is the thing about being a disruptor. Sometimes you just have to take the win how you get it. But when I think about how many Black women I know personally who would constantly bemoan the fact that they could get their work done literally in 4 hours, but they got to be at that bitch for 8. And they would much rather have their kids home with them as opposed to aftercare. Black women have been talking about this for centuries. Like, these systems don't make any sense, right? But now that white folks are scared, now that there's a threat to their livelihood, now maybe we should rethink it. And you take the win how you can. But what we do is you take this win and you really get in there and you dig out the parts that make sense, so that you yourself now, like, we use this win to galvanize our own sense of, you know, to push ourselves further. It's interesting. There's so many things that we're not going to have the same when we come out of this. And when I say we come out of this, I don't think we're ever really going to come out of this, in the sense that this disease will always be here. It's something that's entered the human race. It's not going anywhere. Yes, medications may be developed, but I do think that this is going to be a type of virus that is not going to be tameable. I think it will mutate. And I think that, you know, medicine will always be on the catch up with this kind of thing. But what I am really excited about in this rugged new beginning is the fact that we can kind of start nurturing and start unleashing our imagination. But one thing I don't think, you know, Black people as a whole have really had the privilege is to really think about what our imagination is to really sort of you know, dive into it and just be luxurious in it. And when I say that, this imagination is not a response to our oppression. It is not a response. It is literally Who will we be? What are the things we will like? Where would we want to go if blackness had no impact in the ways that we know it to be?
Right.
So with you and your imagination, how do you nurture that? What do you do to keep it, you know, fiery and alive and things like that?
So a while back, I think it was before Sandra Bland, but Sandra Bland solidified it for me. I just decided that I wasn't going to let the shadow of death get in the way of what I wanted to do. That one of the things I was not going to do is no longer have these uncontrollable anxieties around police officers. That if you are going to kill me, go for it.
Right, right.
The spiritual space is, this is why some sort of connection is necessary, because what drives a lot of us to continue to be part of these systems is the fear of death. And when you understand that death is a transformation, it's just a release. And it's still painful. You know, I miss my mother and my sister every day. But when you start to negotiate that understanding, and you remember that, you know, oh, you know, I've been here before, or yeah, you know what, last lifetime, da 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 da. What it does is it releases you from the burden of the fear of death, because that's the fear that keeps you from wanting to change. That's the fear that actually stunts your imagination. So like when I think about my life, I'm talking 2 or 3 places to land. So a home here, a home on the continent, maybe a home, you know, on an island somewhere. I'm thinking, you know, ability to privately go from one point to the other. I'm thinking, you know, 2 major empires with money to take care of my family and all of these things, and, you know, a manservant named Pontifoy. Like, I'm dead ass serious. My imagine is rich. She wears pantaloons. It is the awesomest shit ever. Pontifoy.
Wow. Ponte.
Pontifoy is my manservant. Yeah, Pontifoy.
And he takes care of everything. What does manservant
So
wear?
it depends. I have this colorful sort of, you know, thing in mind. We'll see. But his job is to make sure that my shit is taken care of. So if the family's coming, Pontifoy, we need to make sure the family's prepared for it. And I don't know if he's going to let me call him Pontifoy, but that's his name in my imagination. And so
I just want to know what he's wearing when he's doing all of these chores.
It's got a lot of colors. So I don't want no basic black shit. Like, there's got to be colors all over the place. And there may or may not be a little hat. We haven't decided yet. But the reality is that Pontifoy is happy to do whatever I need to make myself feel comfortable. Pontifoy knows exactly what my needs are. Whether or not I have a husband, there will be a Pontifoy, and that's just what it is. And so, you know.
Well, I'm going to give you all the blessings and hope the ancestors galvanize themselves to bring this Pontifoy to us, because
look,
boy,
man,
I want to see it.
And you should, because that's who you be talking to when you can't reach me.
Angela Okoye says, and a vest. Girl, that's what I was thinking.
You know what? That's a good point. And a pocket watch. If he has a vest, it must be a pocket watch. And I will gift him the pocket watch. It'll be made of black obsidian, and it'll have a little diamond encrust. That'll be my gift to him. And his ass will be keeping time for me. I will no longer wear a watch and be, you know, because I do not exist in a linear space.
Because time is a white man's construct. And I ain't gonna keep it on my person.
And I ain't gonna keep it. White man ain't gonna have me stand on my neck. No, time.
Black and time. Miracle. It's round.
We are in the future as we speak. What are you talking about? This is not the present. Yeah. So Pontifoy will be there, holding it down.
Break there. But yeah, I mean, I love that. I love your imagination. I love that we can tease these things out of each other, and while we're laughing, it is actually very real. We can have a Ponte Fiore. I want to see it, and I want to have more of these conversations, because all of the stuff that we're going through has always happened. There's always been diseases that can kill us, and we can transfer very easily.
Right.
Police brutality, really, we've known it. Known it, lived it, and it's been there from the beginning, all by different words as well. Slave catchers before, you know what I mean? All sorts of things. So those things are a constant, right? And so our imagination can be whatever we want. And actually, those are the things that I use to really just take myself out of really stressful times. I'm forever kind of sitting at home, just sitting on my bed after a shower, like.
But see, here's the thing about imagination. Like, I think that because I have Pontifoy has lived in my imagination for quite some time. Like, I've always wanted a manservant named Pontifoy. But in my real manifestation, twice a month, someone comes and cleans my house. I pay someone to cut my grass. You know, I have people that I pay to do certain things for me. So
Good.
while Pontipoy doesn't exist in one person right now, in my realistic manifestation, I make decisions. I got rid of my washing machine and I take my clothes to be laundered. Because there's a certain amount of luxury that's embedded when the time is yours. When I'm not folding clothes and someone else is, that's a luxury.
Now you can
create more. So what I would say to anybody listening to this is like, imagination is great, but don't let everything be aspirational. Try to pull some of that into your real world. And that could mean pay $12 for that body wash because it's luxurious.
Hello, method. You have a beautiful little rose one that I put on. I'm like,
get some oils and oil yourself down. You know, spend some time oiling your scalp, because those types of things are a way of assigning luxury and grace to yourselves. And you know, I don't believe in the word self-care. I believe in self-preservation. And if that means that you order out 2 or 3 times a week so that you don't have to wash a dish, then you do that shit. Like, this is the thing. Are you working to live? Are you living to work? Like, what exactly? Why are you here? So this is, for me, that's part of how we manage this. Let these white people figure this shit out. They broke, the system is breaking. They're tired of it, and because they're tired of it, that's why the system is breaking. We need to be taking advantage of all of this right now, because the reality is that if we do it enough, it will become a reality, and it'll be very hard to go back to what was the before. Like, you know, the desire to like want to get back to normal, I'm not at all. I'm not, no, not at all.
Because that normal never worked.
That normal was dangerous. That normal was dangerous.
It didn't serve anyone.
And so we should be using this time to, you know, really put into place things that will become reality for us. And so if, you know, a plant subscription is your thing, and you're going to fill your house with plants because you have time to take care of them, then you do that, because it'll be harder for you to take jobs that will leave your plants alone when the time comes. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like this is an opportunity to create these stopgaps that keep us from going back to these bad habits that are trying to kill us in the first place.
Brilliant. I want to ask our watchers, our viewers at the moment, please type in the comments. Tell me the kind of things that you guys imagine for yourselves. I really want to hear some of the things, because it's interesting to us. And if you have any questions, please pose that as well. I really do want to hear from you guys. With me, imagination is really around, I think, the freedom to move and to kind of like, you know, if I want to experience the winter for maybe 2 weeks or even a week, you know, that I can do that, and then I can up and go to Barbados or somewhere else, and then I can have the, you know, and just the freedom to move without the rigmarole of all of this documentation and all the stuff like that. You know, those are the kind of things that I dream of. And I also dream of just, you know, the kind of foot massages that just happen when I need it. I don't even have to ask for it. Somebody's hand is on my foot and it just happens.
This is why you need a Pontipoy.
Right. That's true. I never knew it would be called that. He would be called that, but I need that, and I need, you know, to be fed, you know, maybe spicy chicken sandwiches that have 0 fat in them but taste just as good. Like, you know, these are the things that I'm thinking of because I like them. I like them, right? And I'm also thinking about the imagination to really be vulnerable without people taking advantage of that. So predatory behavior is something that's just erased. You know what I mean? That if people see someone being vulnerable, or somebody who isn't as quick on the uptake when it comes to stuff, that they're being cared for, that no one's going to come in and swoop every good thing from them and hurt them. So Sweet Weirdness
but
says,
you know,
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, she says, having a life that is filled with goodness, liberation, and wonderful art and wonderful food. I second that. I really second that. Do it, girl. Oh, I'm sorry. I've gendered you. I don't know if you are a girl, so just do it.
That's Ananda. That's Ananda.
Oh, okay. Oh, hey. Yes. So, you know. But,
you know, I think that, so when the thing about the vulnerability piece is that if more people are vulnerable, then predators go away. The problem is that vulnerability is seen as unique and rare and not human. And so that's why it's easy to feel like if I'm vulnerable, people will take advantage. But it's really like if more of us were, then it'd be harder to take advantage because that would be the norm. I mean, that's part of the problem. And like, you know, normalize vulnerability. That should be like, people should be able to say, I'm not feeling good today. And there be an understanding like, okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I've always felt a way. I've seen people post things like that on social media, and then I've seen what comes after that. And I'm always just like, oh, is this a pity party? And so, you know, I've always felt uncomfortable, but I also know I have to model vulnerability. I have to model these things. So Black girls and whoever else is looking at me and thinking, oh, Simone, XYZ, is like, oh, she's also all of these other things as well. So they can see my whole self. Afroglyph says spiritual freedom and financial abundance to do what I love and help fortify and celebrate African cultures. Yup. For real. I mean, tools for living. Honestly, the things that I experience because I'm creating these things within all this beautiful, rich culture we have. It's honestly, it is more than liberating. It's a real. It's not only just a passion. It's this energy I have that it's just beautiful. I love it. Angelica Okoye or Angelica Coy, having the push to retire from dancing in strip clubs, freedom of my own time, space, creative and financial autonomy. Girl, I wish you that too. I hear you, because again,
I wish there were more female-owned strip clubs.
I was about to say it's an oppressive place, but it could actually be the most liberating place ever if it was done right.
It could be a temple child,
right? If it centered women. If it centered the body, if it centered empowering people liking the body in a way that's not this fetishized and like all these negative connotations, sexual connotations to it, it could be an amazing place. But if that's what you want, my boo, blessings to you. And I really hope we can get there for you. Other things I was thinking of is that while we're enjoying the summertime and all these in the lovely climate that we have at the moment.
Are we? Because I'm still in this dumpster fire. So I don't know if I'm enjoying it, but all right, continue.
Well, I mean, you know, I just like sitting by my window and feeling sun on my neck. And I guess that's the furthest I'm getting into the sun right now, because no, I'm not going outside to catch nothing from none of you people. So, you know, I want to stay in. But I think, you know, summer is such a good time for energy. I see. It's like, for me, I'm always very energized through it. What are the kind of things that energize you spiritually? What are the things that you really need, you know?
So I really need water. That's something, you know, one of my taglines is stay juicy. Yes, Miss Harrison, freedom to use my time as I wish, to move freely. Yeah.
And then also, did you see what Forster said? So she said to be surrounded by water, and I've always wanted to own a strip club and call it Chubby's. Girl, I'll be there.
I would go to that. I would totally come and support. You should do it.
You should do it, girl. I'll be there.
I think so. For me, the things that keep me spiritually charged are often metaphorical. So, like, I normally by now would have gone to Jamaica and spent some time in the grill and gone to the water and been tossed around by Yemaya. So I'm really sad that I haven't been able to go to the ocean. And so I have this indigo adire, which is a tie-dye type of thing from Nigeria. So today I cleaned when I was up early making my bed, and I was like, you know what? Since I can't be in the water, I'll put this dark blue material down, and I will transport myself that way.
Nice.
Sitting on my porch right now, I am energized, oddly enough, by train sounds. I have the Calm app, and I was cheap, so I didn't pay for it. I did the free version. And so there's a soundscape that is trains, and I just keep it on repeat. So when you come to my house, you will hear train sounds. It's like you're inside the train. It's been very comforting. I sleep to it. I wake up to it. It stays on repeat up and, you know, all throughout the house. And that is another way that, and the sound of a fan. So I keep a fan going.
Oh,
it helps.
Oh, I love that. Just reading some of these other ones. Melanated Mystic says, as a therapist, I want a center or to be able to connect people to therapy that provides competent, relevant, decolonized, say that word again, decolonized healing to my community that is affordable. I'm wishing for it for you as well. Trust me, because we need it. So blessings to you, and I hope you get that. And you also added, and a house full of floor-to-ceiling windows. Yes! And
I love it.
Can I move in? Or could I just take the bottom floor? Let me know which floor I can have. I want that too. You know, Angela Coy comes to tell us that male and female clubs have a couple of Pontevoys. So, girl, maybe you need to get into those clubs. Maybe that's where you might find your little
Thank you, Angelica.
I know, we're like,
Making noise.
I am Cinnamon Love. You're saying that you want a good farm outside Flint, Michigan. Why can't I speak? Flint, Michigan, in a mid-century modern style with a private physical therapy gym, an ashram for study and yoga, a small lake, and gardens of food, herbs, and flowers.
Girl, that's doable.
So
That
I'm
is
actually
so
coming
doable.
to move in with you first.
Let me know when the ashram's up. I'll come for a retreat.
Listen, I ain't playing.
Totally.
So I and Cinnamon Love, can we exchange details or something? Because I'm coming. I'm coming, you know. I love Brooklyn, but my God, yeah, I need some of that too. But I love this thing. I love us just playing with each other's imaginations and also teasing out other things. Because, you know, that floor to ceiling windows, I love light. I love everything to be light where I live. And so, you know, it's something that I need to start thinking about. I love the thing about water and also farm. How will I sustain myself? And so, you know, I love to hear other people's imaginings because it means that I can enrich my own. And I definitely want a strip club somewhere on my compound. I think that's necessary. So, you know,
I'm not mad at it.
I'm not mad at it at all. And, you know, I might even learn a few tricks and stuff, you know, get acquainted with
I can see it, man. I can totally see it. I can totally see you swinging on a pole. I love it.
No, I mean, I've got the body for it. I just, you know, it's just the upper body strength. Just like, I could barely carry my shopping bags.
You know what? That's what we'll do in our 50s. That's what we'll do. We'll start a 50 and over strip club.
Woo! I think that would be amazing, actually.
I think that would hit. I think that would really hit.
So as we're living in these times which are uncertain, which our times have always been uncertain, but now I think everybody else has realized, oh shit, nothing's promised. And all the things that were promised to people is being taken from them as well. I mean, what is your biggest recommendation? What's your biggest kind of, I don't know, hope for people in this time?
So I think the biggest thing for me is to realize that things are changing. I am quite hopeful. I'm fed up, but I'm also quite hopeful. And I think that we can't lose sight of that, because we have seen some massive shifts in you know, pandemic feels like this is like a 3,456 day of the pandemic. But when we think about what has happened since March, how this pandemic, how we went from being really concerned about the spread of a disease to like, yo, let's tear this shit down. Like, there's something really impressive about how fast we're moving. The U.S. is collapsing. You know, the U.S. as a world power is collapsing. Its underwear is stained and it's showing, and everyone gets to see it, which means that we have the ability to totally change things into something that's more equitable for everyone. I think that we shouldn't lose sight of the mission. It's tiring, it's exhausting. And we also need to remember that there are several front lines. So we can't get caught up in, oh, I'm not on the street. Okay, you're not up on the streets. That's great. But what other skill sets, talents, like if you have a farm, are you feeding people? You know, if you know how to sew, like the way that people were making masks, you know, there are ways that the front lines are all over the place, and they're in different realms. So for the prayer warriors, you know, for the ritualists, for those who, you know, go, you know, for the churchgoers, like the front line is expansive. And so we shouldn't get caught up in just the physical world aspect of things. Like, we really should be thinking about, how does this serve us spiritually? How does this feed us? How does this how do we make sure that we don't lose sight of why we're here? And whatever and you know, and this is also an opportunity to shift. Like, yeah, maybe you've been doing certain things a certain way this whole time. And now, because you are stuck at home, you're having to, you know, do something different, or you know, change it up a bit. And that change, that experimentation, could lead to a breakthrough. So we shouldn't be afraid to just play. This is an opportunity.
I mean, I'm just going to use my hair as an example. So I do lots of stuff. I've been natural since, I think, the year 2001. So when there were no tutorials, and there certainly weren't all the products on the market. So I've been doing a range of things with my hair. But these twist outs, I used to do it, but I just kind of stopped. You know, you go through phases with it. But I was just like, I'm going to do this twist out. It's coming out a little bit crazy at the top, but it's okay. We're going to work with it. But, you know, I'm just like, I'm just going to do shit. And I'm going to just put a whole bit of oil in it and leave it. And that's what's happening right now. And I'm all right with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there would have been times where I wouldn't have been all right with it. And that's not necessarily because white supremacy is on me, but it's also because of my own kind of like grooming measures, the things that I thought I had to do to groom myself. So I love that experimentation, and I'm definitely doing more of it as well, with color, with beauty and a lack of beauty, and walking straight outside without anything on my face because I don't want my mask covered in foundation. So, you know, all of these things.
Yeah. And I think the other part is anybody else falling in love with their face? Because I have fallen absolutely in love with my face because I have to look at it all the time when I'm doing these virtual things. I'm like, oh my God. I was so distracted the other day. I was talking and I was like, oh my God, I'm so adorable. I guess I can't take it. And so, you know, I think this is also a time because we have to see so much of ourselves in the way that we're operating virtually now.
Right.
It's a great time to look at ourselves. Like, I mean, this is the most... this is the most I've actually looked at myself in like my entire lifetime. And the things that I was always picking at and like having problems with because I'm forced to look at myself so much, I was like, you're tripping. That's not actually, that's kind of hot. And so there, you know,
in the grand scheme of things, it means nothing. Yeah,
absolutely. And so there's a beauty there in being forced to look at ourselves on a regular basis. And be comfortable with you get what you get.
Right. Right. And this is the thing. It's like, we're not only getting what we get, we're doing something with it. We're embracing it and we're just seeing it. We're normalizing what we have. Right. And that normalization is where the freedom lies, is that we are finding ourselves on what we're defining as normal. And the thing is, I don't even like the word normal. I think it's weird. And I don't even strive to be normal, but I have to feel normal about certain things about me so I can just go out into the world without all this baggage. Right. And so, I really love that. And I really love that. You're right. I haven't looked at my face as much as I do. Like every week I'm on this thing going live. And sometimes, you know, I've got curlers at the back of my head because I didn't sort my life out in time. You know, it's really about how we're just embrace. You know, what you gonna do? You're gonna stop watching because I got curlers in my head? You can, but you know, I mean, I think life is a little bit bigger than all of that and everything else. And so, you know, Daughter of Waters just says we are all beautiful. We are. Thank you for contributing that. So, I guess what's our last words from you, Kat? Where can we find you? Give us some of that business. We need to know where to find you and what you do.
Okay, so
you're everywhere.
Cat's Corner. I'm everywhere. So just go to Cat's Corner Co. and then I'll just, you know.
And it's Cat with a K.
Cat with a K, because I'm African. But so Cat's Corner Co, lilsoso.com, LILSOSO.com. I've also started a YouTube page. I need like 30 subscribers so I can change the URL. Really? So I need y'all to go. I think so. So I just need y'all to come and join that joint so I can change so I can have a cute URL. I have a podcast. I do a series every Saturday and Sunday. So if you just go to lilsoso.com, everything is there. Right. Also, you know, as far as my final words, drink lots of water and stay juicy. Like, we are in it for the long haul. Nobody wants to be dry by the end of the situation. So please, like, for me, staying juicy is eat the honey, you know, have the piece of chocolate, you know, sweat it out if you need to, but like, let's not deny ourselves things based on what we think, you know, this is not the time. So drink your water, drink your juices, you know, enjoy yourself, find ways. Every day there's an opportunity to find one silver lining. And so that's one of the things that I do. And so that's what, so just find one silver lining. And it could be that, I bathed today. That's the silver lining. Right.
So, Kat, we just need to do your URL. It's LILSOSO.com?
Yeah, I'm going to type it in. So
okay. And I'm glad, Kate Gardette, yes, consumption of water has increased. We need it. It's hot. And it's Cat's Corner. Yeah, there we go. You can see it. There we have it. So lilsoso.com. You little so-so. I say that to my little puppy. I actually call him a little shit most of the times because he does a lot of it. But you know, that's another line.
That's a story for another day. Adopt a little pet, they said during quarantine. It's a good idea, they said.
It will be lovely.
It'll help you.
It's
meanwhile,
pure work.
And cleaning up shit by ungrateful animals who don't care about your life.
They don't care about your life or your floor.
Yes. Luckily, they're cute. That's the only reason we're keeping them.
Luckily. Well, I love you so much.
I love
Thank
you
for
too much,
joining
too.
us. And
This was so much fun.
Yes, we have
I'm
to
so
do it
excited.
so much more. But thank you
Yes.
so much, Kat. Everybody, you know where to find her. Thank you, people, for watching, for commenting, for being here. We love you. We'll be back next week. Please keep liking and everything. But I love you all. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, babe.
Bye.